All right, and welcome back to another episode of Seminole Sideline 365. We're doing something a little bit different because Florida State obviously doesn't play today. We got the primetime matchup tomorrow, Sunday night, which we're looking forward to, and we'll talk a little bit on that. The good thing is no news is good news when you're talking about a Sunday night game, so nothing real big to talk about there, which is good. No injuries, no players out so far that we've heard about. If we do hear about those things, we will bring them up, and if you do hear about them, let us know. But there's a lot of great college football going on. If you're watching this now, you probably just tuned over from the Colorado TCU game. Colorado taking down number 17 TCU. So we'll have some insight on that because I did watch that full game through, and there was some interesting notes out of that game. And that's probably the biggest upset or the only upset of the college football year thus far. So we'll dive into that. We'll dive into the entire college football scoreboard. So we'll pull that up and get your thoughts on Gators struggling on Thursday night. They had that primetime Thursday night slot, and they choked that to Utah and got thoroughly dominated there. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about the upcoming matchups of the Battle of Carolinas tonight with UNC South Carolina, which should be a fun one to watch. We'll be coming up here shortly tonight, along with some other matchups that are interest to everybody. So be sure to comment, let us know your thoughts on some of these games that are going on. What are your thoughts on Sunday night as well? What are you excited about? Who are you excited to see? We'll get into the LSU FSU matchup as well towards the end again. But yeah, I think we want to bring up once again. We just watching that Colorado TCU game. That was a fun one. That was definitely a lot of offense, not a ton of defense. Which I guess should have been expected probably because TCU didn't play a lot of defense. They struggled on defense last year. And I don't know if people expected the worst out of Colorado just based on the record last year. But, remember, this is entirely a new roster. So maybe it was probably unfair to put those expectations on this team. But they looked like surprising to me, what I'll say is that team looked very much well put together based on all the new pieces they put. Like compare them to what you saw with the Gators on Thursday night. Procedural penalties, clunkiness in the offense. You did not see that type of play from this Colorado team in week one. And Florida, they've had, this year two for Coach Billy, and that team looked like it's still not together. Now, take it with Colorado, who has 68 new bodies, scholarship players on that team, right? And they had very few penalties. I think less than 2 or 3 the entire game. And that offense clicked from the get-go. And it helps that they brought some of those key players from Jackson State. So a lot of those key position players, especially on offense, were used to playing together. But still, that's a lot of new bodies on the offensive line, defensive line, receiver room, running backs. And I was thoroughly impressed with what Coach Prime did there in putting that team together and making it look like they've been doing it for years. And then topping that all off with a win. And like I said, I was wrong. I thought they would struggle week one and struggle, throughout the season. But I think based on what they put out today, that they'll be able to compete with teams like TCU. Now, I don't think TCU is probably the number 17 team in the country. They lost a lot of players from that national championship squad last year. They had 8 players drafted last year, including their quarterback, including a lot of players from that offense. And some of those players in that defense. So I don't think they probably are 25 team, but I can't take that away from Colorado. They went in on the road and they put up a lot of damn points on that defense, and they came out with a win. So kudos to Coach Prime. Kudos to his son. Schroeder's played. That kid can play quarterback. And that's why he was recruited so highly out of high school, right? That's why a lot of teams like Georgia wanted that kid at quarterback because he can throw the ball and he commanded that offense. And then Travis Hunter, he lived up to his billing he's going to be a menace. I don't know if he can play both sides of the ball like that throughout the entire season because he took some hits today on offense, right? And sometimes he looked like he was a little shaken up, but that playing 100+ snaps the game is going to beat up his body at this level, I feel like. But that guy is a difference maker on that defense. And I think that's why they have to play him because he had 2 interceptions today. That guy played amazing. So shout out to him as well because he had an amazing game. What were we're just coming from that game, so let's talk about that game first. What were your initial thoughts coming from that?
Well, first of all, my initial thoughts are I've got my Seminole shirt on, but this is the Seminole Chiefs. I'm wearing it in honor of my grandson, who's a senior in high school now at Paul VI High School in Ashburn, Virginia. Plays left blindside tackle on offense. This is the shirt. This is the team that he started playing football on when he was just a little tyke. And now he's 6'2", 215, 220, and honor of him. Okay, let's get to business.
Let's do it.
I'm going to crack. Did you bring your beverage of choice?
I did.
I got the Yingling Light, cracking it open. Here it is. To all the disbelievers of Primetime, including you, KB.
Yeah, I said it.
Including you. You said it. You admitted it. You and a lot of people are eating crow today. All right? And especially the expert insiders. I think it was Tom Luganville. You know, he's one of the guys on TV a lot. He's a big analyst. He said, and you and I discussed it, he said this could be the worst roster in CFB this year, the way it was handled. People didn't like, you didn't like, okay? I'm calling you out.
I don't take
you
that
didn't
back.
Like how you
I don't like how it was handled. Yeah,
you didn't like how it was handled. A lot of people said, a lot of coaches said they didn't like how it was handled. Yeah. Lee Corso on College Game Day said, I didn't like how it was handled. I didn't like how it was handled.
That's
I love Primetime, but he says, I didn't like how it was handled.
Yeah.
I've been a Primetime believer from day one. One is he's a Nole. Now, we can get into that in a few minutes. Whether he said he's a Nole, he's not a Nole, and all that fan hype and media bullshit that goes on. Okay. This guy just proved, and I want to see how many people now that were Dion Primetime haters all of a sudden now start maybe drifting a little bit towards the neutral independent area on him, because he has, as you said, he had this team and his coaches had this team ready to play today. They played against last year's TCU playoff team, but that's last year.
Yeah, that's
last year. That's last year. But it doesn't matter. Everybody's saying the Colorado Buffs, and I'm also a graduate of Colorado as well, okay, is they would be in disarray. They wouldn't have the communication. They wouldn't be able to play. Well, they showed the country, they showed everybody else that something magical happened over the fall camp and what this roster did. There is no denying that. They went into hostile territory and beat the Horned Frogs, I would say, fairly decisively, even though the score is 3 points. Okay? Now, hats off to former Seminoles. Let's bring the Seminole loop into this, that were playing in that game. Okay? I saw McClendon at defensive end.
They gave up 42 points.
Okay. He was playing. Omari Cooper was playing in the game.
42 points on that.
And Bishop Thomas played in the backfield.
He had a great block on that.
Did he blow that guy off the line?
That was a great.
At the goal line?
I give him credit for that.
But it's more than the plays. It's the strategy that was used. How many times did we struggle in the red zone last season when we don't have that big back? Well, get somebody who can clear the way to get that 2 yards when you got to get into the end zone instead of playing trick plays. So hold on. You had a long say. Let me say.
But you're bringing up false facts.
Sanders, quarterback, Shandu Sanders.
Okay.
Shandu Sanders. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. 500. What was his total figures? You got the figures?
Right on the screen.
What is it? How many yards? 500 plus?
He had 500 plus yards. 5'10", four touchdowns.
Unbelievable. The player of the game, though, is Travis Hunter. I don't know how many snaps he took. He had 60 plus in the first half.
Yeah.
Did he?
Yeah, 100 plus snaps. I think.
That is unbelievable. And he played at a sustained level. Yeah. Never once did I see that kid have his hands on the back of his helmet or down on his knees. That kid is unbelievable. He made plays on both sides of the ball. He could have had another touchdown, except his foot was out of bounds. He had trouble balancing the ball. Unbelievable. He should be the National College Football Player of the Week. Whether they won or lost, he should have been. He should be.
Well,
now,
let's let the other games play out. Let's let the games play out first.
I didn't say of the year. I said of the week.
I know.
Of the week.
I know.
Okay. So Travis Hunter should get that award. The running backs, Dylan Edwards and this Hankerson kid, they look good for a offensive line that was totally rebuilt. I don't know what yards they got, but they were effective when they had to be. And hats off to Jimmy Horn Jr., transfer from University of South Florida, had a really decent game as well. And finally, I know I'm not a big fan of the guy, and I don't think a lot of Florida State fans are. Charles Kelly gets his first win as defensive coordinator at Colorado. He did enough. They did enough to win the ball game in the end. In the final minutes, they did enough.
Yeah.
Okay. So hats off to my and the Colorado Buffaloes. Unbelievable. And as you said, KB, an exciting game to watch from start to finish. Unbelievable.
I don't care if you hate Colorado.
Salute.
Love them. It was just a good college football game to watch because all the other games sucked during that time frame. So at least it was an entertaining game, no matter what you feel about either school. It was a fun game to watch. What's going on, Mike? Good to see you coming by the show.
Hey, Mike.
Appreciate it. Played a good game. It was just one game. Yeah, exactly, Mike.
I get it. I get that.
Can you relax for 2 seconds?
No, but don't take my comments wrong. It was one game. I get that.
Yeah, and like I said, and you can see where probably Colorado is going to struggle. They're going to struggle on defense this year. They don't have a great defensive line. TCU could run all over them. And TCU went away from the run game for some reason. I'm not sure why they did. And TCU's quarterback is not very good. That guy, I think Colorado's going to be able to compete in the league this year against some of the more average Pac-12 teams, which people didn't think they would be able to. TCU's not, like I said. Colorado offensively is going to be able to compete in that conference because you have Sanders at quarterback, who is a top 10 quarterback, top 15 quarterback in the nation probably. And you got Travis Hunter. They got top receivers in Jimmy Horn and Hunter. I'm worried about Hunter playing 100 snaps per game. That's not going to hold up. His body frame, I don't know, can hold up to that. He is not a big guy. And if he takes 5-6 shots over the middle like he did today, and you could see him feel it, I don't know if that body holds up, but he kept them in the game at various parts of that game, whether it's an interception, a big catch. He was a big play guy, and he definitely put his mark on the college football season already. But we see how it goes. So kudos to them.
I think, KB, I think what you said was exactly right. I don't think Travis Hunter is going to be able to keep that up. So what they're going to have to use him is more strategically to keep him rhythm in the game. He's going to be more effective for them on defense, but offensively, when they get into the red zone or they get somewhere where they feel they need him, they're going to put him in there. But they can't keep that number of snaps, and you had it at 100 snaps or something.
I thought that's what they said on TV.
Wow.
I don't see his body being able to keep up with that.
Yeah.
One other name that came across on TCU's side was Warren Thompson. He was a former
Warren Thompson. I saw. Yeah.
He got like I think one catch in the beginning, and didn't hear from him.
He disappeared.
That was kind of his MO at Florida State too. So, but I think they had that Kendall Briles connection there, and that's why he's a talented guy, but once again, wasn't able to make an impact.
He had one catch for 18 yards.
Yeah, and then Trey Sanders was a guy that Florida State tried to get. They had a big time recruit that they tried to get from Bama in high school, and he played, had a decent game. So altogether, very, very, very fun game to watch. It'll be fun to see what they do the rest of the season, both teams. Once again, I don't think TCU is a top 25 team. But, the offense for Colorado will be very, very fun to watch because the guy that you pointed out, Wilkerson, he's a freshman. This was a freshman that a lot of big-time programs wanted.
You mean Wilkerson?
No, to Edwards.
Edwards.
Yeah, he was a freshman that Dylan Edwards was a guy that 4-star guy, top 200, 250 player, true freshman that a lot of kids want, a lot of programs wanted. So, and he showed out more as a receiving running back than a guy that's going to go through the middle. And once you got on the sideline with a couple of those catches, he was breakaway speed. So they got some kids that aren't just transfers that are going to be able to play. So it'll be fun to watch them.
Yeah,
but let's move on. Let's
wait
move
a minute.
on.
I think we'll follow a lot of fans will follow this team because of Coach Prime. And some of them follow him to see if he gets beat up and love that. Others follow him because they want to see if he can bring a team to this level. And his son at quarterback, you know what I was surprised about, and maybe I just didn't have enough insights, is that his son didn't use his legs very much. And I thought that hurt Colorado a little bit because TCU could come in on him and try to keep him in the pocket, but he's not a runner like Jordan Travis is or Jaden Daniels is. He didn't put that pressure. And is to your knowledge, does he didn't run at Jackson State?
He only ran for 174 yards at Jackson State last year.
Okay, so he is a drop back, scramble as only needed type quarterback.
He has a great arm. He does. Why put your body at risk when you have a great arm?
And he made good decisions. But a couple times it was pointed out that he probably could have run for a first down and just learned to slide or get out of bounds. Your team needs that on occasions.
But he's not an athlete. He's not an athlete like Travis Jordan is. He's not that type of athlete. He has a supreme arm, and that is the thing that will keep Colorado in a lot of games. Their offense is going to be capable of putting up 45 points because I think they're a lot more loaded on offense than they are on defense. I think they're going to give up a lot of damn points this season, but they're going to put up a lot of damn points at the same time. So I think they're going to be in a lot of gunfights, gunslinging battles like this because with Sanders at quarterback, with Hunter and Jimmy Horn, and you got a lot of weapons on offense, and for a team that's rebuilding, you can acquire those weapons. And I was surprised how well their offensive line kept up. And going through the season, where if you get an injury or two, that's where it may start to hurt some of that depth. Right now, they're all healthy, right? But that's where some of those things can nick you up. But I was surprised how well their offensive line kept up. But having a great quarterback can make up for a lot of things in your offense. We saw it, we've seen at Florida State sometimes that having a great quarterback can cover up a lot of things that you may not have great player, positional roles at. And I think Sanders at quarterback does that for them. But also having great weapons at receiver also helps you too. So it'll be something to monitor. Like I said, it was fun to watch the game. I think they'll beat the brakes off of Nebraska next year, but you don't know. This team is still being rebuilt, so I think they'll.
I will keep everybody informed as I will be monitoring that situation closely.
All right, so let's go look through some other games that went on this past, starting on Thursday. Florida being thoroughly dominated by Utah on Thursday night in primetime. You call that primetime if you want to call that primetime. I can't say I was surprised. I think most Florida State fans were predicting this to happen, that Florida would come out and get killed. But I think I was a little surprised that it wasn't even close with Cam Rising, Utah's top quarterback, and the guy that who's once again another top 10, top 15 quarterback in the nation, being out for the game. That was kind of a late scratch for him coming off that injury last year. They went on the road. Florida went on the road. And I think it's the first time they've had an out of conference. I forgot what the stat was. It was the first time they've gone out of conference to play a road out of conference game.
Because they played Utah last season.
At home, yeah. But there was some unbelievable stat about how they don't go on the road to play out of conference games ever. It was some in the last 30 years or something. And if someone has in the chat, let me know. But it was some crazy stat. And now we kind of found out why, because they got destroyed, dominated by a backup quarterback, first of all, and then by a suffocating Utah defense, which Utah's known for. And they just couldn't get anything going all night. They couldn't really run the ball. Mertz, took what they could get, but he couldn't pump the ball down the field like they were used to. And they had a lot of miscues, like I said. The miscues I saw at Florida is what I would expected from Colorado today, starting basically a whole new roster. But we saw them out of Florida in year 2 of the Sun Belt Billy rebuild of Florida program. And like I said, people predict that Florida's going to get 6 wins this year. I can see that prediction coming true. So that's one prediction I think Florida State fans and the media have right, because this team did not look right. They didn't look right last year with a first-round pick in the quarterback in Anthony Richardson. And Mertz is not a better quarterback than Anthony Richardson, no matter what you think of him. But Mertz is definitely not as athletic gifted, and doesn't have the arm strength or the
He had
arm.
over 300 yards, though.
How many points do they have, though? Yards is a
I
vanity metric. Yards is a vanity metric.
But he's one guy. He's one guy.
And the quarterback is the most important position on the field. That position is the most important position on the field. If Colorado doesn't have Sanders at quarterback, that's a whole different team. I'm telling you.
Well, if Florida State doesn't have Jordan Travis,
it's a whole different team.
It's a whole different
exactly.
team. It's a whole different season.
And so I'm telling you, with Mertz at quarterback, he cannot get them out of the jams potentially that, say, Richardson could. And they didn't use Richardson right last year. I think we all believe that. And they have Mertz now, and he's less capable of doing anything that Richardson could do.
Plus, their running game, they only had 13 total yards rushing the ball, which puts all the attention on the quarterback.
Exactly. And he's got to make unbelievable plays. And
they threw the ball 44 times.
They only have
44 times.
One primetime receiver, Ricky Pearsall. So, and he had a decent game, but once again, Mertz is not going to slice you up, in my opinion. He didn't do it at Wisconsin. Wisconsin was kind of happy to see him go. And yeah, they struggled. I mean, Florida had 3 points going into the fourth quarter, and finally got a touchdown there to make it respectable. So overall, I think we got what we expected out of Florida. And Utah showed what they have, that they're an actual top 15 team. Their defense is there to stay, and when they get Cam Rising back, they're going to be a force to be reckoned with.
Didn't Florida go in there as an underdog? They didn't go in there as the favorite.
Oh, of course.
They didn't go into Utah as the favorite.
No, but this was a measuring stick to see how they would perform in the SEC this year, and I think it's going to be ugly. I think it's going to be ugly this year.
Okay.
Do you disagree with that?
No, I don't disagree with that. I think they're going to struggle. I think their only opportunities is to beat these I don't want to say FCS teams they bring into the swamp. They'll beat them, and then they gotta go after the low hanging fruit in the SEC. The ones that maybe some would say it's a coin flip, for them, but they have to find balance on offense. They didn't have any balance in this game, and you can't put that much pressure on your quarterback to throw the ball 44 times. For Jordan Travis on Sunday against LSU, how many times do we expect him to have to throw the ball? 25 times, 28 times? If the running game is working, Trey Benson should get 100 yards in this game, 80 to 110 yards. If we do that and divide up a few other rushes with our running backs, we should have 125, maybe 150 yards rushing the ball against LSU. If we do that, he only has to throw the ball maybe 20, 25 times.
Well, last year he threw it 33 times, and Florida State struggled to get they just got over 100, 115 yards rushing last year.
Because it's
going to be hard. It's not
the offensive line. We're going to find out what our offensive line really has. This team, Florida State, has been hyped. Okay, they've been hyped, right or wrong. They've been hyped now, and I agree. This is the Florida State team to do some damage in the country this year. They have to win the ACC championship, in my opinion, or this team did not succeed, period. Yeah, I will go on record. If they don't win the ACC championship and Clemson wins again, then this team did not succeed, because in 2024, this is going to be a total reload.
Well, that is the big thing. And I think that's a conversation that I've seen a few people talk about on X or Twitter or whatever the hell you want to call it. Is that, this is the little opportunity that Mike Norvell has to really show what he's got in terms of having a full team and a full loaded team, because you will, like you said, lose 80 to 90% of your offense. You're going to lose 80 to 90% of your total offense. And that's a scary idea to think about.
And he has to have a very successful season this year, or the doubters are going to reemerge. They're going to reemerge. And then if Sanders has a great season, or a 500, wins 6 games, goes to a bowl game, you'll hear some stuff. Okay, now, before we leave this Gator topic, KB, let's see who they lost to Utah. Then they're going to play, who the hell is MCN? McNeese
State.
They'll beat McNeese at home.
Then they have Tennessee.
Then they'll get beat up by Tennessee. And then they play Charlotte. So they could be
2-2.
2-2 going into Kentucky and Vanderbilt, which they could win those two games.
They lost to Vanderbilt last year.
Well, that's last year. So they could actually be have a winning record going into the South Carolina game in mid-October before they play Georgia and get destroyed.
I think they'll probably most likely be 3-3 heading into South Carolina, which is most likely a loss, and then they lose. They'll probably be going to Georgia. They could be. They could have 2 wins going to Georgia.
The Gators don't have that tough a SEC schedule. Where is the toughness there between Georgia and LSU?
Kentucky's never easy. They lost to Vanderbilt.
Yeah, but Georgia,
South Carolina, Georgia, LSU. I mean, it's not easy, but they're not good. That's the issue. Is they're not a good team, so they're not a good team playing against.
Well, they'll light it up. They'll light it up against McNeese. They'll get 60 points, and have a. And I think it will against McNeese State. Okay, enough on them. Enough on the Gators. Enough on the Gators.
Another update going to the ACC is that I thought this was interesting. BC loses their first game of the season in overtime against Northern Illinois. But they already have a quarterback controversy. They benched Moorhead for Castellanos, who is, I think he transferred from. I looked this up. He's a new transfer. He's a sophomore, I believe. But he transferred in from UCF. So he played like 5 games there last year, very, very limited time. But he kind of mounted a comeback because they were down most of the game. As you can see, his numbers there, 13-28, not great, but a lot of usage with his legs for a touchdown too. But they are a -8 favorite on the odds maker. So if you bet money on Northern
Boston College was up
-8 at home. No, they were -8 odds.
-8 at home. Oh.
And they lost by 3 in overtime. So if you bet on Northern Illinois, then you made some money tonight. If you didn't, well, great. You may not be eating out tonight. You maybe have to cook up some whatever
pizza.
You got in the freezer.
Call in pizza, buddy.
So struggle for Boston College already begins. They may be on coach hot seat watch. I don't know, but they lost their quarterback in the offseason. Obviously, he transferred out. They already have a quarterback battle brewing here, it looks like, and not a great start to the season. They seem to be what we expect them to be. Not a good start.
Let me ask you this. Hopping back, you said coach alert, hot seat. If the Gators were to really be miserable, not be at 500 by the first 6 games, let's say, would they make a coaching change in the middle of the season, you think?
I would have to. I don't know what the buyout is. I think that plays into it.
I don't think it matters to them. If they don't like this, if they were to lose to teams they're supposed to beat this year, I think he's going to be. I think they would take him out. I don't care what the buyout is.
Well, let's. They're a public institution, right?
Yeah.
So I think it does matter because I just think that
it's the alumni. The alumni would step up.
I don't know, but you could look at this line. I thought this was an interesting article by the Tampa Bay Times. They said, "Is Billy Napier another Willie Taggart?" And they said the record through 14 games looks the same. It's the same. Both teams look discombobulated in year 2. And you just brought it up. If they start off cold again, would they make a coaching change in the middle of the season? Napier, now he did go to the bowl in his first season.
That's a shit bowl. That was the game they kicked the field goal at the end.
Exactly. Just
and Pat McAfee just blew it up.
It wasn't a blow. Yes, it wasn't a shutout.
He blew it up.
Record versus ranked teams, as they point out here, 1-6, 1-7. So just like Taggart, and then win over rivals, Napier and Taggart 0-0. So he's on the Taggart's trend of the Taggart course towards being fired. To your point. And both teams look to be in disarray, as it points out here.
Where the hell is Willie? Where is Coach Willie?
I think he's enjoying his millions and millions that he got paid out for.
No. I think he's some analyst someplace.
No, he tried to get on staff with
Colorado
Prime. Yeah, and I don't think Prime wanted him.
Interesting. If somebody knows that answer, drop us a line.
This is a great article. Yeah. To your point, I think that Billy is on the Willie Taggart path towards getting bought out. Because if they go 2-2 and then get blown out by South Carolina and Georgia in back-to-back weeks, I think that's when it happens. I think it happens in early November, right after the Georgia game. If they lose to South Carolina,
Tennessee, and Georgia get blown out in all three, it's over.
Georgia at home could be the nail in the top.
The Gators can't take that type of embarrassment, and they won't stand for it. I don't care what the buyout is.
And they have to think about, how do we cut this off early so that we can think about
recruits.
Who may be available in recruiting. Yeah, what coach may be available.
And transfers and portals.
Exactly. So I think that it's better to cut off early, start searching, and put some guy in. But and start talking, putting out feelers for people because of transfers and like you said, in recruits. So it'll be interesting what they.
That's one thing Coach at TCU said about Prime. Everybody was riding him about all the transfers and everything. He does the same thing. Dykes at TCU does the same thing. Hit the portal hard, but he said, "This is the tool we've been given. Why would I stand back and just not use such a tool?" I think it's a balance of the tool of high school recruits. You go after 4- and 5-star guys to bring in and develop, and like a Travis Hunter or other guys, and you must hit the portal. And I think for Florida State, because this program, we're concerned about Florida State, is in 2024, you may see them reach into the portal for a quarterback. Don't discount that. Anybody disagrees with me, put it in a comment.
B. Riley says Taggart is with the Baltimore Ravens. Harborough did them a solid. Oh, that's right.
That's true.
That's true. That's a good pull there.
Okay, hey, what's the deal on Harbaugh at Michigan being suspended? What's that about?
Because he lied to the NCAA about recruiting and stuff like that. So I hate how they're making him sound like he's a martyr, and they're doing these formations on the field like he's disgusting. These Michigan.
What was that all about? I don't even.
It's not even we're talking about, because he did it. He made a recruiting violation or NCAA recruiting violation, and they're acting like he is some kind of martyr on the field. It's so sad and disgusting.
I hate to say that I was out of the loop a little bit, but I've been traveling. Buenos Aires and Uruguay, highly recommended travel, especially in the winter. They're below the equator. So I missed that story. So how many games is he suspended for?
I think it was just 3 games. So, and the 3 games that he's missing are cupcakes. So it doesn't really miss it. Nobody. It's their next 3. They beat East Carolina by 27 points today. And then they play UNLV and they play Bowling Green.
They play nobody.
It's basically not a suspension.
Nobody cares about those games. Nobody cares. What the games they care about is like the game today, Colorado.
Right.
They care about Florida State and LSU. These are the games fans want.
Hey guys, they don't play a ranked team till November 11th.
Yeah, they suck. Look, who's the toughest teams on Michigan's schedule?
Penn State and Ohio State. Their schedule doesn't really begin.
That's it. No wonder they make the freaking playoffs. That's a joke.
The Big Ten, their Big Ten setup is, it's ideal because they don't take any risks till the last 3 weeks of the season.
And Michigan State always gives them a battle, an in-state rival. That's always a pretty good game. That's a joke. That's a joke. Okay.
Yeah. Hey, you can get your UNLV tickets for $39 if you want to go to Michigan Stadium.
Exactly. Okay, now who's playing tonight? Georgia's playing tonight, right?
Georgia's playing tonight. Well, one thing I want to bring up before we go into tonight's games or what's going on is we have to bring up the Battle of Miami.
Miami was pretty good against. It was the Red Hawks.
Yeah, the battle for Miami versus Miami.
We played the Red Hawks one year in a bowl game, right?
Yeah, I don't want people to overreact to this game because, like I said, it's you're playing Miami out of the MAC, and it's it's hard to take anything away from this, right? I think Miami. The one thing I'll take away is that I think Miami struggled to run the ball early against them. Tyler Van Dyke threw a really bad interception early in the game. But they won the game. They did what they were supposed to. Miami's not supposed to.
They covered the points.
They covered the points. I think they did what they're supposed to do. I saw some of their freshman defensive linemen in a couple of plays here and there. But it's so hard in a game like this, which is it's supposed to be in these roll. Now they lost to Middle Tennessee State last year, so once again, you don't know. Is this a growth from them? Is this a sign of growth from them? Potentially. But I didn't see they didn't win by 60 points. It's not like they did in Alabama where they rolled over a guy and put 75 points on them or something like that. So
let's talk about their quarterback, though. I think Tyler Van Dyke is an adequate plus quarterback for a football team. Okay. Yeah. And now let me ask you this. If Tyler Van Dyke went into the portal next year, would Florida State take him?
No.
Would Florida State take him?
Depends who's out there, but I think he got some like elite tag associated with him for some reason 2 years ago. And then I don't think he's elite. Like he got tagged a couple of years ago for some. I don't know why he got that. And I know he had some big numbers early, but since he's gotten banged up and stuff like that, he's good, but not great. I think
he's kind of a big kid, and
he's got the size. He's got prototypical size for a quarterback that you want.
Yeah, and I don't think he makes too many bad reads. And that brings me back to Sanders at Colorado. Man, he made some good reads today. He was really reading that defense.
Sanders is a great quarterback. He
played one game at this level. I wouldn't say he's great, but he had a damn MVP day today, and I thought his reads were good. He didn't force the ball into anything.
That's what I'm saying. And that's how you can tell he's going to be a good to great quarterback is because he made the right play. The kid threw for 500 yards today. So, I mean, against TCU on the road, like I'm not saying he's going to win the Heisman, but the guy, to your point, made great reads. He didn't throw bad balls. And his ball placement, Travis Hunter dropped 2 balls that probably could have been touchdowns too.
Well, those are tough catches.
I know, but he put the ball only where his player could get it. I think Sanders played very, very well. But
Jimmy Horn Jr. He dropped the ball he should have caught too.
That's the difference.
Really.
Tyler Van Dyke is not at that caliber in my eyes. Now he could prove me wrong down the road here, but I just don't see that.
Hey, here's the most important thing about the Miami game. How many people did they have in attendance? Anybody know that answer?
Not a lot.
Well, you don't know that. They look like
I think they had. Okay, show me the photo where it looked like they had a lot.
No, on TV they kept it pretty narrow. I don't know somebody's got the attendance. Drop it to us now.
It was really bad.
All right, what else have we got on the board? Washington leads Boise 7-6 early in the game. Let's go to this topic we haven't covered, right? The ACC has some new members. Yeah, bam. They got SMU coming in who said, we won't take a penny for 9 or 10 seasons.
9 years.
What?
9 years.
9 years. They don't want a penny extra.
Not media revenue.
They don't want a penny. We got Cal coming in. The Cal Bears. California. People go, Cal, who's that? California Bears. University of California Bears. And we got Stanford Cardinal coming in. Remember, the great Jim Plunkett played there. Okay, Jim Plunkett. What do you think of that, KB?
It's the last gasp of a dying conference.
But why is it a move by the ACC, knowing they're going to lose teams to put more numbers on the board, knowing they're going to lose, or are they trying to convince the guys? We're really trying hard. You should stay here. The Clemsons, the North Carolina, the Miami, the Florida State.
Any value. Do you think Florida State wants to travel to California to play Cal and Stanford or Texas? Like
I wouldn't. It's a grueling trip.
And it waters down the value of you as a basketball conference as well. Like there was literally like Florida State. ACC as a basketball conference used to have some value. Then last year happened, and
they were number one. They were the number one basketball conference in the country for years.
The last couple of years they flipped. Last year was really awful for the ACC, and now you add
no help from Florida State's program.
No help from them, and then you add 3 really bad basketball teams to it. So you've just literally said basketball. We don't care about you in the ACC anymore. Add these 3 teams, water down that product. So you've lost that brand recognition, and then you add the football. And you think Florida State is going to want to go on some West Coast road trip? Like it is a numbers game. I think it's like we know we're going to lose 3 teams, and this is our backup plan just to say that we have a full conference. And I think those 3 teams know that their back is against the wall, and they don't want to be left on the cold because the Pac-12 is imploding like a dying star. And they said we got to catch on to one life raft, and it's either the ACC or the Midwest Conference. Or whatever, because I don't think the Big 12 is taking them. I mean, the Big 12 has come out better than the ACC in my eyes. So I think this was like a life hack. We'll take less money because these 3 schools, I believe, got offered more money to stay in the Pac-12 when it was still whole, and they declined it. And now that it's a year or 2 later, they're getting offered less money with the ACC, and then now it's just the best offer they have left. So they held out for no reason, and the ACC gave them a worse offer. And they're like, well, we had to take it because we have nothing else left, unless we want to go independent and really screw ourselves. So yeah, I mean, it's kind of a bad deal for everybody. But I think it is now the verification that the ACC will lose at least 3 teams in the coming years, and this is kind of like something to keep it relevant. And I don't think it does that. I don't think the ACC will be relevant if they lose Florida State, Clemson, and UNC and more. But I think it's kind of sad. And I think I forgot which school flipped on them. I think it was NC State or
on the vote, right? Yeah, I think it was NC State,
which.
They don't have a home to go to anyways.
Yeah, it was weird. So I don't think it brings any more value.
No, it's kind of weird in the ACC, like you say, and I totally agree with you. Florida State has no future in the ACC.
Yeah.
I believe they're working behind the scenes, furiously working behind the scenes. They know each season they stay in the ACC, they're losing more revenue. I don't care what the regeneration of the distribution is. The more games you win, the more money you get. You're still going to come up short. And players coming to you, coaches staying with you, all recognize this. You will become a stepping stone program for the development of players and for the development of coaches. So it's a no-go. I've said that from the beginning. I believe you said that as well. Florida State must leave this ACC to get to the SEC or the Big Ten. One of those. You know, like you said, the Big 12 is probably in a better position now than the ACC. We're probably like the 4th conference now in this thing.
100%.
But I think the Florida State athletic director, Mike Alford, this guy is not going to sit on this. The board of I want to say directors. It's not board of trustees.
Yeah.
They're working hard. There's a meeting scheduled, I think, for 8 September. You know, I don't know what the agenda is on that meeting, but we'll be monitoring that and see what's going on. But I believe Clemson as well. I would think Miami would not want to stick around for this conference, and UNC. Those 4, I think, are probably working independently. Whether or not they're working together, I don't know. Maybe they could deliver a joint buyout at a lower cost to each school, but a bigger amount for the ACC. You know what I mean? On the grant of rights thing.
Yeah.
So there's no way they're staying in this. It's a matter of when and when they leave.
Yeah.
There's no way around it. Do you agree?
No, I totally agree with you. And like you said, they have a committee meetings on September 7th and a general board meeting on Friday.
7th or 8th?
Well, they have committee meetings on the 7th, and then they have the general board meeting on
the general board on
at 9 a.m. At 9 a.m. Okay. So, well, like you said, we'll see what comes out of it. But yeah, I mean, this is. Now they're past the deadline, so they'll have to wait the 2 years, or they have to find that legal loophole. I don't know. You're going to have to pay out either way. You have to pay out either way. So
Let me ask you this, and I put this out on Twitter. I said, if the wild card out there, and those bastards, I hate to say that, is Notre Dame. The last major. Wait a minute. The last major independent out there. Back in the day, there were the independents. Florida State was an independent for so many years before they joined the ACC. Notre Dame continues to hang their hat on that. Is there or not? What do you think the odds are Notre Dame would join the ACC all in?
Zero.
What do you think they would want? What would they want? Zero. Okay.
They would want $100 million a year.
They would want to keep their own contracts probably and get some share of something.
They have no reason to ever leave their NBC deal. Because
they can negotiate their own deals and have their own money coming directly to them, like PayPal or some shit, right?
They just have such a sweet deal, and I think they're like making $35 or $40 million a year, I believe, in the NBC deal, and that's going to be renewing, I think, in a couple of years. Plus, their new AD is from NBC. Like, what do you think his vested interest is in?
And with the expanded playoffs, it's not going to hurt them. They don't need to win a conference championship. They will compete for the playoff spots based on their record and based on who they play.
No.
They can handle all of that without coordinating with 12, 13, 15 other teams. They don't have to enter into any of those types of agreements. So there's no real good reason for them to come into a conference.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Financially.
No, not at all. So I don't think that you'll ever get them to agree to it. But back to that point of Notre Dame.
Yeah.
And I want to talk about that for a second. So we did see the premiere of Sam Howell last week, and Notre Dame is playing right now against Tennessee State. So
what are you talking about? The premiere of Sam Howell? You mean?
All right, sorry, not Sam Howell. Sam Hartman. Sam
Hartman.
Sam
Howell is at your Washington Commanders.
Yeah, the Commanders. So yeah, we saw Sam Howell's debut last week. Now they're playing Tennessee State this week, another cupcake. But we saw Sam Hartman's little debut last week, 251, 4 touchdowns.
Looked good.
He looked good.
He's legit.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see once they play a decent team with some decent.
How many times did he beat us at Florida State?
Every time.
In his 3 or 4 years.
I think 3-0.
3-0. That guy, last minute drives. The guy's steady. He's an old man now. What is he, about 25 years old?
I want to see him next week. Let's see how he plays against NC State. But this week 5 game or week 4 game,
State.
Ohio State. That's the game I want to see. That's the game I want to see at Ohio State or versus Ohio State at home. Let's see what Sam Hartman does against Ohio State. Because that'll be the game that tells me that can he do it? Because again, he's been beating up on ACC teams for a while now. That's the big time prime matchup. And he's got a lot of prime time matchups. He's got Ohio State, he's got USC, he's got Clemson.
They're leading 21-3 over Tennessee State right now. He's got 114 yards, 1 touchdown, 8 of 11.
Yeah, so
early in the game.
But I'm excited to see what he does. He looked good last week, last week, like you said. So it'll be interesting to see what he does. But mark that down.
I don't think Sam's going to be fazed by a big game atmosphere, even though he has not played in the type of atmosphere you're talking about. Okay.
Yeah. Under the lights, because they were playing in Ireland last week and now they're at home finally.
Yeah.
But playing, Ohio State in the lights or going on the road to,
that's on the road.
No, they're at home. They're at home against Ohio State. But when they go, and luckily for him, Ohio State's at home. USC is at home. They have to go to the road like Clemson, but I think they've had to do that a couple of times. So for him, a lot of these normally tough games, USC, Ohio State, are actually at Notre Dame, so have that home field advantage. But home field advantage for him is a lot bigger than playing at Wake Forest Stadium. So it's a lot louder, but having that.
Bring in the Deacon. The Deacons.
And then he plays Wake Forest on November 18th, so that'll be fun to watch.
But what I like, though, for Notre Dame, though, to help Sam, is that it seems like in the first 2 games, now they've played a couple of cupcakes, okay?
Yeah.
But their rushing game is well balanced. I mean, they've got 146 yards right now in the first quarter and a half.
Yeah.
So, and they had big rushing yards against Navy.
Yeah.
That rushing game with an experienced quarterback, right, takes the pressure off him and really holds that defensive line more, and helps that offensive line. Absolutely. So, I expect he'll do well. I expect he'll do well. I'm not saying they're going to win every game, but I expect Sam to do well as a 1-year one and done guy.
Absolutely, because he's on his 10th year of college eligibility.
I know. He kind of reminds us of Chris Wenke. Chris Wenke was 26 years old, but he went into minor league baseball.
Yeah.
Sam has been in the college football system, but you had COVID years, and I don't know. Maybe he had a medical. I don't know.
I don't know. But the last thing, tonight's games, we have the big match that I'm looking forward to is the Battle of Carolina, like we talked about. And I think the Chat's game of the weekend potentially is the North Carolina South Carolina game. I think this is a very, very
big rivalry. Big rivalry game.
Yeah, big rivalry, like you said, and a matchup of 2 great quarterbacks in Rattler and Drake May. I think we know what Drake May does and what he's capable of.
Right.
But both these quarterbacks, these could be potentially 2 top 2-3 round NFL caliber quarterbacks that are going to be tallying off. And Spencer Rattler, he struggled at times last season. transferring in from Oklahoma. But he came alive towards the end of last season. I think they pulled off a couple of upsets. So he struggled with some interceptions, but the guy can throw the damn ball.
Darius Rucker picked him in College Game Day today.
There you go. So, but I think this is going to be a hell of a matchup. Played in Charlotte, so it's that neutral site. It'd be nice if sometimes these are played on the road, but this will be a hell of a matchup. I think we'll see a lot of offense, and but this plays into the whole transfer waiver thing because UNC is going to be missing Tez Walker. We talked about that a couple of shows ago.
Did you hear that they're still waiting final word, I guess, on the appeal coming up next week?
Well, I think they're waiting on the same thing for Daryl Jackson, too.
The appeal? How long does this shit take?
Did you not see Mac Brown's statement?
No, what did he say?
Oh, he posted a whole
this is ridiculous. Statement. It took months for the initial decision. You send in an appeal. When you send in an appeal, you usually try to make additional arguments or bring new supporting evidence.
It's ridiculous. No, Mac Brown did a great post.
Oh,
he did a great post.
It's terrible.
On I think he posted on Twitter.
Both on Tez and Daryl Jackson is terrible decision.
Here's the statement he put out. It's a lot. So, but basically he said, highly anticipated season over South Carolina. He's still ruling ineligible. The NCAA's unwillingness to provide clarification of the last few weeks has left us in this position. At this point, everyone knows the detailed Tez's journey at North Carolina. And he talks about his mental health struggles and why he wanted to get closer to home. The NCAA has been reluctant to consider the real issues of mental health, COVID, and rule changes that have impacted his journey. They said they're about helping kids, but all they've done is add to the very mental health issues Tez has been dealing with that made him want to get closer to home to begin with. You can't say that you're about helping kids and then show a total disregard for the kids you're supposed to be helping. It's clear that they are more about process than people and not people. Fortunately, the committee still has a chance to recommend the correction to this egregious error.
Well, it would be unbelievable if his appeal gets granted, and he gets to play, and then Daryl Jackson doesn't. But we don't know. We don't get to see the decision made by the NCAA. We don't get to see their reasoning. So, what do we know?
But once again, this process shouldn't take this long. Like he said,
it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Okay, LSU, Florida State. That's where we'll end here today. What are the updates? Have you changed your mind? You picked LSU in this game, if I remember correctly, and I picked Florida State to win. What are your thoughts the day before the game? We're just hours before this game. People are going to Orlando now. I can tell you the weather here in the Tampa Bay area looks great. Weather should not be a factor. The hurricane really wasn't a factor on the Seminoles training and all of that. That's not going to be brought up as an excuse. There are no excuses for either team. What's your thoughts here going into the game?
Yeah, I think that I think that it'll be, once again, a back and forth affair. I do think that it's going to be it's going to be hard to. It's going to be an offensive struggle for both teams. I think we may see some big plays early, but I think as things settle in, the defenses will start to take over. I do think that both teams have brought in some good players transfer-wise, and I think obviously Florida State has developed some of those defensive players too. Jared Verts has another year under his belt. I think he's going to be hopefully a menace on. And then you got Brendan Fisk. You got the transfer Fentrell Cypress on defensive end as well. I do think, and it was a NCAA reasoning. That's a new one. Yeah. I do think it will be a defensive struggle. It was sort of like that a little bit. It was a little back and forth last year, and LSU kind of brought it on in towards the second half. And I do think there will be some adjustments for Florida State with these new receivers. Keon Coleman, Winston Wright coming into the mix. What do we see of Destin Hill? LSU bringing in a lot of new players as well. So I do think there will be some growing pains for both teams, and it will be a little bit slow. I do expect the same kind of scores last year too, in the high 20s, mid 30s for this game. So I do think scoring will come along, but I don't think it's going to be like we saw with TCU in Colorado. I think it's going to be in the 40s. I do think there will be some tough yards to come along. But to your point, I think if Florida State wants to win this game and win it comfortably, and comfortably by that I mean like 10 points, they need to establish the run early and often. They need to wear on that defensive line they need to establish the line of scrimmage. Trey Benson, I think, needs to have 20-plus carries. I know they want to rotate running backs. They want to get guys the ball. But I think Trey Benson needs to lean on that defensive line. He needs to put a body on a body. He needs to wear down LSU as much as possible. That is a big man who can take hits, and he can lay hits as well. If they want to win this game, he needs to wear on that defensive line for LSU, and they need to get him open. The offensive line has to do their job and put a body on a body and let Trey Benson do the rest. I don't want to have to rely on the deep ball 5, 10, 15 times a game. Even though you have those weapons, you are going to get some really, some decent defensive backs for LSU too. So as much as you can run the ball to establish the pass, I would love to go that way. And I think Florida State can win the ball game if they do that. If they struggle with the run early, I think it's going to be a very tough game for Florida State. But I do think, like I said, even though I picked LSU a couple of weeks ago, I do think it'll be a very coin flippy type game. So I think it's either way. It could be anyone's game.
I still feel very confident in Florida State winning this game. I think they're better on paper. I think they're better, and they're going to be better on the field. Okay, yeah. I've been looking at, reviewing, looking at everything I can on LSU. I don't think LSU's as good this season as they were last season. Now, in certain positions, the defensive backs, defensive secondary, I think they're still trying to figure out what they're going to do there. Yeah. Florida State should be able to take advantage of that in a strategic passing game, not just unloading the ball down the field. Everybody does that to stretch that secondary to show you we will go long. LSU already knows they can go long. So why do we even have to show that? We know we can do that. I think you don't want to waste too many passes down the field long that are low percentage catch passes and put you in a 3rd and long situation. Mm-hmm. So I think if we do strategic crosses, middle range passes, and then, the short to middle range and run the football, we should be able to control the game, control the clock. And we're going to find out. We're going to find out what Alex Atkins has really put together as an offensive coordinator and as an offensive line coach. Is this line as good as it's been hyped to? I think it's probably, I'm hoping it's an average to plus level, maybe average plus to good minus level. And what we want to do is we want to keep Jordan Travis standing up. We don't want Jordan Travis having to scramble for his life on every series, because that can bring injuries. It can bring bad plays. And if that's happening, we know that offensive line is not getting the job done. The matchups in the trenches are going to be the key. If we can control the trench up front offensively, I think we'll score 35-plus points game. You think it's going to be a little tight offensively? Yeah. I think the offenses on both sides. Jaden Daniels is a very exciting quarterback. He now has his 2nd year into the system. I think he is going to put up some points. I think there could be a scoring duel in this game, and the defenses are going to have to catch up, and potentially whoever can get off the field a few times on 3rd and long could win this game. Miscues, special teams, one play in those areas, and I'm a little concerned about our punt returns. Yes. I haven't heard too much there. It's a little unsettled. And when you get the big lights on, the stadium, 70,000 people, that could be a factor. I'd much rather see a ball hit the ground and roll than I would a guy muff a punt. So, of course, the 2 quarterbacks have to stand up the entire game. If they go down, then the game changes a lot. I've got Florida State winning in a 38-26 type of game. And I hope it doesn't come down to a field goal, because I feel still the greatest weaknesses Florida State has is beyond Jordan Travis. The quarterbacks are totally inexperienced, and our kicking game is still yet to be defined.
Well, yeah, and to your point, with Florida State releasing their depth chart earlier in the week, we saw who is the punt returner going to be. It's going to be Keon Coleman as the starter and Lawrence Philly as his backup. We know Keon has good hands. And I think he was featured a little bit in the Michigan State as their punt returner, but you also are putting one of your top weapons as in the line of fire and receiving punts.
But we have, if something goes down, he gets hurt in that. We do have a big receiver room, So I'm good with that. I'm good with anybody who can catch the damn ball.
Yeah, and then for kick return, you have Deuce Spann and Keziah Holmes. It looks like who are going to be the
on kickoffs. Deuce Spann,
Spann, or Trey Benson, and then Keziah Holmes. So
I don't like Trey Benson doing kicks. I think he's too valuable. I like Deuce Spann. Generally, that's a ball he can get, and Deuce Spann, if he hits a lane, he could be gone because his skill is quickness.
Yeah,
his skill is quickness, and so he could be a guy that breaks one.
Yeah, and I think to your point, one of the keys to this game will be, can they contain Jalen Daniels? Because I think one of the biggest parts of his game is the ability to open up the pocket and open up. If he doesn't see something, he'll take off in space. I think that's one thing we didn't see as much from Jordan Travis in this matchup last year, is that he was more he was looking more downfield and trying not to, or he didn't run as much as we maybe expected him to do. And so can they contain, because they couldn't get the running game going last year for LSU. They could not establish a consistent running game, but Jalen Daniels could. He had the most, by a mile, he had the most running yards. So can Florida State, can the linebackers, can the edge, can they keep him contained and force him to have to pass the ball in Florida State? Once again, whoever establishes the run consistently, I believe, will win this game.
Are you aware of anybody that is out of this game for Florida State?
Outside of Darrell Jackson and...
what was the story on Fabian Lovett? That he was a little banged up, but he's ready to go.
Yeah, in terms of significant injuries, I don't think there's any.
Yeah, well, they don't report it anyways. But this is a money game. This is a money game for some of our last season players. The Jared Verse, the Fabian Lovett, Brandon Fisk. I'd like to see him come back for another season. But, Cypress, there's another guy. Benson, there's another guy. Jordan Travis, there's another guy. Johnny Wilson, there's another guy. These are money. This is what the scouts want to see on tape. They don't want to see you on tape against Southern Mississippi and Wake Forest. They want to see you on tape in the biggest games of the season and what you do in those games.
Yeah. Exactly. So I think, like you said, it'll be a close one.
It'll be a great game. It should be a great game. A lot on the line. Now, as we said,
one thing,
if you lose the game. Now, I think you and I disagree a little bit on this. If Florida State loses this game, I think it's going to be a big. Yeah, Ja'Kai Douglas.
Yeah, that was the one.
Dagby is right. Yeah. Ja'Kai Douglas is out. You're exactly right.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's funny. I forgot what I was going to say. B. Riley upset me, and B. Riley, we're a little worried about your loyalty. I've seen you, following other people. What I was going to say is, I think that if Florida State loses this game, it is a big hit to Florida State. This is more than just the ACC. No, I disagree with you on that. This is a team to win now. LSU comes in with this reputation of LSU, the SEC, Joe Burrow, we've won national championships. Well, so has Florida State. Why should we bow down because it says LSU? I think that's the hype they bring in, that they bring in all these they hit the portal hard, but they got guys from some schools, the guys I'm really not aware of. I don't think they brought in better guys than we have. I think our guys are the best guys we could find in the portal and are much better than the guys for LSU. All right. And that's why I say we're better on paper and we're going to be better on the field. This Florida State team is built to win now. It's built to win tomorrow. It's built to win the ACC championship. Anything less than that will be a disappointment for Mike Norvell, the coaching staff, and this team.
Okay, but you just mixed up your team message. You said if they lose tomorrow, then it's a wash. But they don't have to win tomorrow to win the ACC.
Well, if they lose tomorrow, the whole pressure is on to win the ACC.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. This team gets one mulligan. This team gets one mulligan. They don't want to use it tomorrow.
Why would we lose to LSU? Why is LSU so superior? We're playing at home, basically. This is a home game in Orlando. The fan base is going to be disappointed, and I will be disappointed if we lose this game. Period.
Everyone should be disappointed. Yes.
Because we're a better team. We're not an underdog. We're not a 3-touchdown underdog like Prime was at TCU.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's the thing. People are talking about.
I don't even know why we're a 2-point underdog playing basically at home with a better team. I don't. Why is LSU so highly rated? Tell me why they're so highly rated. Why?
Why are we so highly rated?
Because of our offense and the weapons on offense and our defensive line primarily and our secondary.
Old man, LSU went to the SEC championship last year. We didn't go to the ACC championship last year.
I just don't. I don't see it.
But that's what I'm saying. I think you're underrating LSU in their program, what they did last year.
I'm not underrating them.
So I think
but I'm not going to overhype LSU because it's overhyped anyways.
This is
Brian Kelly and all this shit.
But this is a very equal match in my eyes. This is a very good matchup of great. But
FSU fans are going to Orlando to expect a win. When we turn on the TV set, we expect a win. Okay. We don't. I'm tired of hearing, well, Florida State's back and they're all this. Well, if we're back, we expect to win every game. And expect means win. No. It doesn't mean hoping to win.
No, greatness isn't given, it's earned. And they have to earn it starting tomorrow. So the media,
I agree.
The media and everyone can give it to you, but you have to earn it starting tomorrow.
If we lose to LSU, there's going to be doubters. There's going to be doubters.
100%.
And then all the pressure definitely shifts to the Clemson game.
Like I said, you get one mulligan this entire season. Don't waste it tomorrow. Take the game, win the game tomorrow, and keep that mulligan in your back.
I expect us to beat LSU. I expect us to beat Clemson. I expect us surely to beat Miami and Florida. Yeah. Anything in those categories of the loss is disappointment for this team.
Absolutely.
For the way it's built.
Absolutely. They should go out tomorrow and play up to their potential. And if they don't, then there's going to be a lot of questions. And like we said, we'll be on tomorrow night, right after the game, doing a post-game reaction show.
A long day tomorrow.
So join us. Make sure to join us and hit the bell, hit the subscribe, whatever you do below so that you get alerted. Because we'll be on that whenever the game ends, 10:30, 11.
What time's the game start? 9?
7:30.
Oh, 7:30.
9? What do games start at 9?
Oh, West Coast. The new ACC games will start out there when Florida State plays Cal out in Los Angeles or wherever the hell they play.
So we'll be on starting at 10:30 or 11. Whenever the game ends, we'll be hopping on basically right after, 5 minutes after. We'll do a real-time post-game reaction to it. So
by the way, I saw the ticket prices. Some resales are going now for like $120, so you can still get a ticket out there on some of your favorite reseller sites. But parking's like 100.
Just Uber there. All right, well that's gonna do it. So you're picking FSU and I'm picking LSU just barely, but I hope I'm wrong because I hope to be celebrating a win with you all tomorrow. So let us know, comment what you guys think, and share the video. We'll see you all hopefully tomorrow in a celebration of a post-game win, and hopefully it's by a lot. But either way, I'll take a win. Win is a win, and we start 1-0. So. Like the video, comment, subscribe. We appreciate y'all. We'll see you tomorrow. And as always, go Noles.
Go Noles.
See you Sunday night. Take care, y'all.
Gotta love college football.
Bye-bye. Enjoy South Carolina, North Carolina tonight.
Oh, see you.